Random introduction with a hook to get the audience reeled in, and then cut to intro. And it has seats, and it's a car. It 2 doors too. First, start with an introduction of yourself and the car. Hello, I am Robert. I have a cold right now, done. And this is a 1985 A60 Toyota Celica Supra. And next thing to do would be to have some outside shots of the car that are wildly overexposed and accompanied with some way over the top music. And now that the overexposed shots are done with the accompanying loud music, it's time to do some shots in the car. Now remember, while you're talking in the car, it's best to play some generic music in the background. Now once you actually get in the car, a good place to start is with the specs. Now if you didn't do your research, don't worry. You can just dub it over later. It's very convincing. Here, let me demonstrate. The engine in this car is a 5M GE. It makes about 160 horsepower. And the torque curve is kind of lazy. It's more about low to mid-range torque rather than high-end power. Another good way to cover up your lack of knowledge on the car is to just be very vague. The transmission in the car is a 5-speed, it does exist, and the differential in the car is in the rear because it's rear-wheel drive, and it has seats, and it's a car. It's 2 doors too, yes. Jump cuts are also okay in just normal dialogue because people know that you're an amateur and they expect mediocrity. So just go ahead, jump cut the crap out of this video. It's okay. The dialogue doesn't have to flow together. Talking about some of the interesting features of the car. This Supra has a lot of luxury features in it, actually. It has a radio with a bunch of equalizer knobs. It has power mirrors. It has a power sunroof, power windows, power door locks. It has a nice hatch for storing stuff. It has automatic climate control, and it only slightly matters that only half of that works. A very important part of the video is the driving experience, because that's something the user just can't look up. That's not something you can read on Wikipedia. So remember that when you're talking about the driving experience, you have to constantly yell at yourself. Imagine that you are a YouTube commenter, because that's what they're going to do. And scrutinize yourself continually while talking. The steering on this car is hydraulically assisted, and it's kind of vague.
What an idiot. It's just because your car is old and your tires are too fat.
The steering on this car is hydraulically assisted, and it's kind of vague, but that could be due to the size of the tires or the age of the car.
You're ugly and your opinions are worthless, you worthless person.
Oh. The steering on this car makes it go left and right. It's also important to talk about the general overall idea of the car, what the manufacturers were thinking when they designed it. The Supra wasn't, in this year, in '85, it wasn't the out-and-out sports car that it became later on. Another random insert shot to keep the camera off my face for just a little bit. And this year, it was more of a personal luxury car, which is a very popular idea in America. It's more of a personal luxury car and with some sporty feels to it. So it has the larger engine, the larger
2.8 liter
engine, and it produced more power than the Celica that it was based on. This is also the last year that the Supra was based on the Celica. Suspension is a fairly soft setup. It's not the out-and-out sports car that the mid-90s Supra was. It has some body roll.
My Supra doesn't have any body roll. Your tires are just too fat, and your Supra's a piece of crap, and you're ugly.
It has some body roll, but that could be due to the large tires on it.
Your suspension is too soft because your Supra's an old piece of crap and your opinions are worthless, you idiot.
Billy, come upstairs for supper.
Yes, Mom, I'm coming.
It has movement in the suspension that I have no opinion on at all.
Use insert shots to hide editing cuts the audience will never notice.
It's good to note in this Supra that it was sitting for a long time in a field, which is why it looks the way it does. But seats are actually perfect. There's seat covers on them because while they may be perfect, if you sit on them and you have a little perspiration on your back, you will become the color of the seat, and that's annoying. Unexpected cut to outside of the car. So as you can see here, the trunk in this car is magnificently large, great for everyday use. So much practicality, it's just unfathomable. It has 2 almost usable rear seats, a tonneau cover, this gigantic hatch, and 2 spoilers. As for the style of the car, we start up here at the front with the pop-up headlights, the bucktooth grille, and then we can move farther back. You have the very square shape of the vehicle. You have the fender flares because this is a P-type Supra instead of an L-type. You have the fancy four-lug Toyota alloys with some big meaty tires on them. Move farther back, still very boxy affair, very 80s, moving back. And then over here you have two spoilers, nice hatchback shape, nice sloping design, and then to round it all off you have this gigantic Supra sticker on the back and this really fat impact absorbing bumper because safety is paramount.
Transition!
Now the dash in this car hasn't aged too well.
Of course yours hasn't aged too well. It's got massive cracks in the dash, you idiot. Ellipsis, 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 ellipsis.
Oh my god, yes. Now the dash in this car hasn't aged too well, but obviously I'm talking about the styling, not the gigantic cavernous cracks in it due to sitting in the sun for years. Make sure you also think hateful things about yourself while talking. The fuel gauge in this car does not work, and as a nice addition to that,
Your hat looks stupid.
the odometer, the tripometer does not work either. Give a synopsis of the car. Well, overall, I do like this car. It would make a fun daily driver, and especially back in the 80s when this was new, this would have been a fairly reasonably fast car, and it would have been really comfortable with all the luxury accoutrements that back then would have worked. And yeah, I like it overall. I wish this one wasn't ugly and didn't have canyons on the dash and smell like litter box. Other than that, also I wish it didn't dye my back. Other than that, it's pretty great. It has a lot of potential as a project car. And if you get one that's really nice, it would have a lot of potential as just a fun daily driver. Because how many of these do you see on the road anymore? Very few. And now we come to the outro where we normally would say something nice about the car to end it all off, but there's really no need because most of your viewers have stopped watching your video by now because you are boring. Hello and welcome to How to Make a YouTube Car Review with our special guest, this Redorati 1985 Celica Supra. We have the inside of the boot, which you can see. Oh, I just called it a boot. Oh God, I gotta start over. I didn't do that.
What a moron. It's just because your tires are too old and your car's too fast. I said that backwards.
Make sure you look at your notes while driving. This is good. And here we have the A60 Celica Supra, and I'm just having too much fun now with my accents and all of my accents. And so yes, it's going to go on and on and on like this. And then suddenly I'll switch to a British accent, I will. Yeah, I will switch to a British accent, and then some Australian. Yes, mate. That's the best I got. And then suddenly back to American, because I am an American.